There comes a moment in every person's life where noise no longer works. The dopamine rushes, the screens, the constant physical cravings, they all stop satisfying. And in that silence, something stirs, something ancient, something real, not the mind, not the body, but the soul. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." But to truly look inside, the body must first go silent. This is the truth behind abstinence, not just sexual, but emotional, digital, spiritual. Abstinence isn't about punishment, it's about power. It's not about denial, it's about direction. Let's dive deeper into this truth. Part 1. The modern addiction to stimulation. In today's world, distraction is the drug of choice. We wake up and check our phones. We scroll while eating. We binge on series, snacks, and shallow conversations. Every second is a chance to escape stillness. And why? Because silence scares us. We are taught to chase stimulation. Dopamine has become our master. Every click, like, swipe, and hookup trains the brain to expect reward. But there's a cost. You lose depth, you lose clarity, you lose yourself. When we constantly stimulate the body, we silence the soul, the quiet voice inside you, the one that knows the truth about what you want, what you need, what you fear, gets drowned out by noise. And the tragedy, most people live their entire lives never hearing it. Abstinence, then, is not about being good or pure. It's about being awake. It's about breaking the addiction to noise. When you choose to abstain, whether from sex, screens, or sugar, you're not punishing yourself. You're creating space. And in that space, something sacred can enter. Carl Jung would say, this is the beginning of individuation, the process of becoming whole. When you stop numbing and start noticing, you reclaim your inner world. You begin to hear your intuition, your inner compass, and in that clarity, life changes. So if you're always tired, always restless, always chasing something, you don't need more pleasure, you need less distraction, you need silence, because when the body stops talking, the soul finally gets a chance to speak. Part 2. What Jung understood about desire. Carl Jung didn't fear desire, he studied it. He understood that our impulses aren't evil, they're messengers. Desire, he said, is the raw energy of life, the libido, not just sexual, but spiritual and creative. But here's the problem, most people never learn to harness it. We either repress it, bury it in shame, or we indulge it until we're numb. Neither path leads to wisdom. Jung believed true power comes from integration, acknowledging desire without being controlled by it. Let's say you feel a strong sexual urge. Instead of acting on it immediately or feeling guilty, you pause. You sit with it. You ask, what is this really about? Often, it's not about sex. It's about connection, or loneliness, or power, or escape. Abstinence gives you the space to explore those deeper layers. It transforms raw energy into insight. When you don't act on every craving, you begin to see what drives you. And in that awareness, you gain control, not just over desire, but over your destiny. Jung also warned about the shadow, the parts of ourselves we hide. Unexamined desire lives in the shadow. If we don't face it, it controls us from the dark. Abstinence, when practiced mindfully, shines a light into that shadow. It brings buried truths to the surface. So no, desire is not the enemy, but unconscious desire is. Abstinence is how we wake up. It's how we step out of the loop of chasing pleasure and start walking the path of purpose. Every time you delay gratification, you're not just being strong, you're becoming aware, you're growing, you're evolving. And when that happens, the soul starts whispering, you were made for more. Part 3. Silence as a spiritual technology. We tend to think of technology as something outside of us, apps, machines, tools. But what if silence itself is the most ancient technology, one that doesn't connect you to Wi-Fi, but to yourself? When the body goes silent, you begin to operate on a different frequency. You notice the ticking of a clock, the breath in your chest, the tension in your jaw. You become hyper-aware, and in that awareness you gain access to realms that are usually locked. Monks knew this. Mystics too. They practice silence not to look holy, but to hear the divine. When the body is still and desire quieted, the soul opens like a window. You receive clarity, insight, peace. In today's age, silence is rebellion. Everyone is talking. Everyone is posting. Everyone is marketing themselves. But the one who says nothing, the one who listens instead of speaks, that person gains power. Try it for one day. No social media, no music, no chatter, just your breath, just your thoughts, just your being. You'll be amazed at what rises from the depths. Silence is not emptiness. It is the fullness that remains when everything unnecessary falls away. It's the soil where soul knowledge grows. And in that soil, you plant the seeds of purpose, truth, and healing. So when life feels too loud, don't just escape it. Exit it. Go inward. Turn off the noise. Because in that sacred space, your real self is waiting to speak. Part 4. The Alchemy of Abstinence. Abstinence is not just restraint, it's alchemy, the transformation of raw desire into gold. Think about fire. Uncontrolled, it burns everything, but focused, it forges steel. Your impulses work the same way. When you abstain, not forever, but for a time, you give yourself a furnace, a place where emotions, urges, and pain can be melted down and reshaped. That's what makes you powerful. Have you ever met someone who radiates calm strength, who doesn't chase, who doesn't fidget or explain or apologize for existing? That's often someone who has learned to hold back without losing themselves. Their abstinence has created energy, stored, clean, intentional. Jung believed we all have a self, a blueprint of our highest potential. But to reach it, we must go through trials. Abstinence is one of them. Not as punishment, but as purification. When you fast, not just from food, but from distraction, you begin to see your patterns. You begin to break cycles. You stop reacting and start responding. That's the foundation of wisdom. True abstinence is not repression, it is redirection. You don't kill desire, you tame it, you use it, and the results are transformative. Think about your goals, your vision, your legacy. How much closer would you be if you stopped leaking your energy into things that don't serve you? Every moment of abstinence becomes a brick in the temple of your future. This is the spiritual science most people ignore. They want change without sacrifice. They want clarity without silence. But the soul doesn't work like that. You must give something up to rise. You must let the old burn away so the new can be born. That's the power of abstinence. Part 5. Listening to the soul's voice. After the noise fades, a new voice emerges. Quiet, steady, undeniable. It doesn't scream. It doesn't beg. It whispers. That's your soul. You've heard it before. In the early hours when you couldn't sleep. In the long walk after heartbreak. In the silence of a deep meditation. The soul doesn't use words. It uses knowing. Abstinence sharpens your ear to that voice. It clears the static so you can hear the signal. And the signal always points inward. The soul will tell you when something's off, when someone isn't right, when a path isn't yours. But it only speaks in silence. That's why noise is the enemy of truth. Carl Jung wrote often about the self, not the ego, but the higher self, the one you were born to become. To hear that self, you must detach from the surface. You must descend. This isn't easy. In fact, it's painful. The silence brings up everything you tried to suppress. But within that chaos is a compass. The soul speaks through discomfort, through gut feelings, through dreams. That's why abstinence isn't a retreat. It's a return to essence, to meaning, to truth. So listen, slow down, go quiet, because in the silence, your real life begins. Part 6. The Power of Sacred Restraint. We live in a world that glorifies consumption, but the people we admire most, stoic warriors, spiritual leaders, artists of depth, they all practiced restraint. Restraint doesn't make you weak, it makes you magnetic. It's the fire you don't chase, the argument you don't enter, the urge you don't act on. That's power. Abstinence is sacred because it sets you apart. When others run from pain, you sit with it. When others chase pleasure, you channel it. That's what makes you rare. Carl Jung knew that transformation is not for the faint of heart. It takes silence, it takes solitude, it takes sacrifice. But the reward, freedom, clarity, soul-deep strength. So the next time your body wants to speak, let it go quiet. The next time your desire flares, hold it like a lantern. And listen, because in that silence, the soul is speaking. Not with fear, not with hunger, but with truth. And once you hear it, you can never go back. That's the truth behind abstinence. That's the secret Jung knew. And now, so do you. So if you're tired of noise, go silent. If you're tired of feeling scattered, reclaim your energy. And if you're tired of being driven by desires that never satisfy, step back, let the body go silent, and you'll hear it. The soul, speaking. And when it speaks, listen closely, because what it says might just save you. If this message resonated, comment "awakened" below. And remember, in a world of chaos, the most powerful man is the one who chooses stillness.